What's up, y'all? I am back for another video. Today, I'm doing the Equalizer 3, and I gotta say, this one is not as strong. I like it. I still think it's a good movie. Like, I think the first one's like almost a 10. I'd give this one like an 8, maybe 7.5. I think Pedro brings it down, and it's not just because I don't like the dude. I think my problem more with his character was one, the whole conspiracy, because York is someone who worked with Robert. I do like that it goes a little bit into his backstory, but not too into it. Like we get it that he was in the military. We get a little bit more of his background and what caused York to leave, and we get a little bit of that. But maybe I would have just been better off if they had just did. Granted, it may have been seen as just a retread, but if they just did like another gang kind of, maybe a local gang terrorizing the neighborhood, or even that opening scene, the guy that Robert killed in the beginning on the train, maybe he should have been the villain. Like something like that. I just didn't need the whole conspiracy. Though that scene when Terry does get killed and that's what sets Robert off, I will admit I did like that. In that opening scene with the killers killing the Brussels and making it look like the guy killed his wife was brutal. Like he just walks in and his wife's all bloody, and you just see these dudes, and then they throw him like they throw the dude on the table, or in the chair, and like they kill his wife, and then they put the gun. Like that was dark. That was kind of cool. Even the one dude who made him shoot, he would have been better as the main villain because Pedro just didn't do it for me. I'll admit I don't like the dude as a person, but it's not even just that. I just felt like one, it was kind of predictable. I mean, I had seen this movie, but I'll admit I didn't remember Pedro being in it. But it's like you kind of could predict. It was way telegraphed. Like, oh yeah, he's gonna be the bad guy. He's gonna be in on. I think is he no Susan. I said Terry. Susan. That's his friend from the last movie. Maybe I think that plot maybe would have worked better for a third film. Granted, I don't know what we're getting with Equalizer 3, so who knows? I'm hearing a lot of good things about that, by the way. Like I said, overall, I do like this film. Miles is a little was a decent character, almost like a stand-in for Robert's son. Almost, I like that scene where because Miles is like this kid who lives in his neighborhood, in his apartment building, who he pays to like clean off like the tagging off the walls and stuff. But he sees that Miles goes to like basically a gang party, and and Robert goes up there and gets him out, and that scene between the two was really fucking good. Like Denzel's acting in that scene was amazing. Like it was almost like this is like, oh, almost forget it's like this is supposed to be an action movie, but it's like a really dramatic the way he said it. It was like almost like damn near if this was like, you would think this would be like one of Denzel's like not gonna say Oscar bait, I'll say it, Oscar bait kind of movies. Which don't get me wrong, he's still good in those, but yeah, like that scene particularly, even like just you know him acknowledging, like talking about like you can't, like you have a choice. You can't, don't blame what your mom didn't give you, what the white man didn't give you. Basically, say you can't blame anyone but yourself. You got to make your life, basically, you got to do good with your life yourself. And when he even puts the gun to his head, it's like, you don't know what death is. You haven't seen what, yeah, it's such a good scene. I'll admit, that was great. So the movie I still think is good. I'm not necessarily saying it's bad. Like that opening scene on a train was pretty brutal. I'll admit the first one's definitely more violent. Granted, there are some scenes like in the end. I did like the final fight at like in Robert's old house, which is this part of the city that's like basically a hurricane. I did like that. I thought that made for like an interesting kind of background for a final fight. It also gave Robert cover and how he's just taking these dudes out. Like York's whole team out like systematically. One with a harpoon gun, that was pretty brutal. Like they didn't hold, or when he like killed, like sliced the dude's like several or like vital organs like multiple ways. It was fucking great. The final fight between York and Robert was okay. Wasn't anything special. Like you just knew Robert was gonna kill him. But it was still an overall decent movie. But I think this conspiracy plot would have worked better for maybe a third film or another film. I didn't think it needed to be here. I think it almost convoluted the plot a little bit, but I still like it. It's just not as strong as I would say the first one was. I hope 3 kind of can keep that pace. Though I've heard some people say 3 is better than 1. We'll see, but if 3 can just be really good, then like I said, I'm not gonna. It's a Denzel movie. This one is not bad. This is still better than a lot of fucking other people's movies. So like, I still think Equalizer 2 is good. I just think it's not as strong as the first one. I still think there's some great action. That scene when he beats up those I don't know what to call them, like dude bros, um, douchey types. Throughout the film, he's like a, he's like a Lyft driver, so he's driving different people, and he drove this girl who I get, who was drugged and raped. It's implied. I do like how it's implied. They don't like the movie. I do like that these movies don't like just do exposition dump. They actually like let the audience figure out what's going on. So he ends up, after taking her back, when he beats the shit out of these guys, like, the little jobs he does, I think they should have maybe focused on that. That's my only kind of criticism of the movie. Instead of bringing in this York guy, he felt like, Pedro's character felt like he was working for somebody bigger. He didn't feel like the main villain at all. I just gotta be honest. He just didn't. So, I did like that scene, though, after we get the reveal that it was York. He, like, talks to York outside his house with these other guys, and he's like, I'm gonna kill all of you with Robert Dahl. I thought that was a good scene. So, overall, I like this movie. It's just not as good as the first. Tomorrow, I will be doing the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. I fucking love that movie. That might be the definitive Punisher movie, story-wise, but I do love Punisher Warzone, which I love that one too. I think that one is definitely straight out of, because there are Punisher comics like that where, there are some that are like more story, like the Thomas Jane version, but there are ones like Warzone where it is just more Punisher just killing motherfuckers, and I think Warzone had a decent enough story, and Jigsaw was pretty good in it, so I still overall would say it's a good movie. It's just the Thomas Jane one was so good. John Travolta, the scene where Punisher's Frank's family gets killed is pretty sad, so can't wait. It's been a little bit, I'll admit, since I've seen that movie, so can't wait to watch that tomorrow. But let's get to Equalizer 2. Sorry if I do that all the time. I just gotta make sure my shit's still filming. The movie opens up. We see Robert on a train, basically trying to kill this Turkish dude because he kidnapped his daughter from America. I love the shit with the time. That's actually probably my favorite sequences in the movie. Is like when he sets his watch, shit's about to get real. And I love those sequences in the movie when he like sets his watch and he gets like that almost like, I don't know what to call it, like pseudo spider sense. It's not real spider sense. Let's say he's somewhat the equivalent of that. So he ends up killing everybody on the train, and that was pretty brutal. He stabs a dude in the chest and still snaps his neck. Like, because it stabbed in the chest, like, that probably would have killed him anyway. And nope, I'm still snapping your neck. Like, just because, fuck it. Ends up killing the father. Then we see the Brussels family get killed. I thought that scene was pretty brutal. Like, I think that one dude will work better as the villain and have Pedro work for him than the other way around. Just being honest. He had, like, just that little bit of dialogue. He felt like a better bad guy. I just felt like York, I know I'm saying this a lot, but he just did not feel like a main villain. He felt like there's somebody else who's pulling the strings. But unfortunately, he is. That's how much I just don't think he made it believable. So, Robert now, basically does Lyft driving on the side, and I do like some of those little scenes where he helps, like one of his neighbors is a former, Holocaust victim. He ends up, he helps, like, paint the apartment and stuff like that. So, well, yeah, no, while he still does it, he still does the equalizing. He talks with Susan. Um, it was cool that we got a little bit of Bill Pullman. He wasn't in it as much, but it was cool. At least he's in it because I'm like, his wife just got killed, so she has to at least be in a movie. Um, um, so one night while he's driving his Lyft, he picks up this girl who's clearly like drugged and you know raped. So he takes her to the hospital, goes back to the house, and basically just beats up all the dudes, and it was fucking great. It was like Denzel is the king of like that fucking just 1,000 yard stare he does. He doesn't even have to like make an angry face. It's just that stare. It's like shit's about to get real. Yeah, Denzel's just overall great in this movie. Like that silent badass character about Robert is what I like. So yeah, and this one is definitely like even less like John Wick. He's not just shooting people left and like he's killing people way different ways. But like I said, this just it got seen as a John Wick kind of not necessarily rip off, but like it was like seen as like even just trying to capture the popularity, even though they came out the same year. But it's one of those things. That's just zeitgeist, man. Which one gets seen first? More people know John Wick, so unfortunately, it'll just get seen. Oh, you're just trying to be John Wick. But even the way Robert kills people is even different. He has does a different strategy. He doesn't just shoot you either. John does kill you in other ways too, but like obviously the pencil. But if we're being real, it is mainly guns he uses. Like Robert sometimes doesn't even go in fucking armed. Sometimes he just fucking sets traps and all this shit. Um, so yeah, after beating up those guys, he meets up with Susan. She tells him about the murders, and this is where we meet York. And York, if he had just maybe if they hadn't even made him a villain, if he had just been somebody Robert was talking to, because this is where Susan ends up checking out the murder scene because she's looking into it, basically because she knows too much. She ends up getting killed. Well, they don't show it. It looks like she's about to get robbed, and then the dude closes the door. Then it cuts to this is where we meet Miles, who because his apartment basically building gets tagged, and he basically pays Miles. Miles is like this local kid, kind of basically almost like his son, essentially in the movie, kind of father figure. I do like seeing that stuff in a movie, even though he's not his actual son. It's just kind of nice to see shit like that in a movie. So yeah, so this is where Robert finds out about Susan's murder. I do like how it is in big. We finally see what happens later, but initially it does look like just a robbery gone wrong. She tried to fight back. The dude's overpowered, and then the door closed. Obviously, you kind of know what happens after. I do like when movies do that. They don't just spell it out for you. So he gets the call. And this is where Robert, when he just walks away, he even leaves his book. It's like he's fucking ready. So this is where he goes to York, and he finds out about the murder and starts looking into them. And one day while he's Uber driving, it starts off normal, and then the guy tries to kill him. Robert ends up killing him, and figures out it's York because he looks through the dude's phone. Like, he just, dude tries to shoot him, he, gets advantage, and then just casually caps him while he's still trying. He just drives off. It's so fucking cool. I do think, the way Robert just does things, I gotta say, McCall, might be up there with some of the best action heroes. Just, I like how, he's just a silent badass. I'm not saying he doesn't talk, but it's, when he's in, kill mode, it's just silence and that 1,000-yard stare, and that's all he needs. And I think that's what makes the character work, and it's just awesome. So, yeah, he ends up killing that guy, confronts York, and I did like this scene between York and him, and then they go outside and meet with basically the guys who killed the family. And before that, York tells him actually what happened, that it was him who killed Susan because he didn't want to, because Robert deduced that the stab was too professional. It wasn't just a robbery. So it was York who killed her. He tells, and he basically goes into why he left the military. But I do like you get a little bit, like a smidge, but not even a big smidge. You just get a little bit of like Robert's backstory, and I think I'm kind of cool that they don't go into it. I hope 3 maybe you get a little bit more, but I don't need to know his whole. I'm cool with just not knowing. I don't need to know every character's backstory, or I don't need to know the whole thing. I'm cool with just getting little. You get an idea that he was military trained and he got his skills, and that's all you need to know. I kind of like that. That's all I need to know. I don't need to like know the whole details. I don't like. Oh, I guess side point. I saw a fucking article before fucking Screen Rant saying like people want John basically Denzel Washington's son, John Washington, to be in a basically a Robert McCall prequel. I'm like, no. Can we stop with the prequels? I don't need to fully know what Robert's story was. I'm cool with having a vague idea, and then that's it. We know he was in the military, and he probably did some other shit, and that's all you need to know. I don't need anything else. And I like that actor. Grant, I didn't love the movie, but he was decent in Tenet. But it's like, I don't need a whole movie about Robert's past. Why? Who needs that? Like, we don't need to see it. So I'm cool with, just getting a vague idea in this movie, and we'll see what the third one gives us. But that's all I need. I don't need, like, a whole fucking movie. Because then, one, I feel like, A, you're gonna ruin the art, and you're gonna add some bullshit that didn't need to be there. Yeah, no. Anyway, so I did like that scene afterwards when the other guys arrive and Robert confronts and basically tells them, I'm gonna kill you all. So basically, they all know that, they plan on killing Robert. Before that scene with Robert, because he sees Miles get picked up by his friends who are clearly gangsters. He goes to that, basically it's like a trap house. Robert takes out a guy and then takes his guns and basically forces Miles out of the room and has like basically telling him, like, why are you in a gang? And Miles like, I can't just be an artist. That's not going to pay my bills. And Robert basically like goes into him and tells him like, you got to make a choice. You don't want to basically tell him you don't want to live this life because I don't know if obviously I don't think he was a gangster, but you could tell Robert's seen some shit, so he probably knows what this gang life could be. Even telling him like, you got to make a choice. You can't. Don't blame it on what your mom didn't give you, like what the white man didn't give you, kind of like what life didn't give you. I kind of miss movies like that didn't just basically confirm victimhood all the time. That no, you can get yourself out of it. And I just love that. Like, one, you just don't get a lot. I know this movie's like 2018, so it's not like recent, but it's just kind of nice to see that in the movie. Especially because it's like most of the time now, it's always the opposite. So, constantly just confirms people's victimhood. So it's just kind of nice to see a movie do the opposite. But, yeah. So, and I actually thought Miles is an okay kid. He's not a kid, but he's like a teenager. He was an alright character. He wasn't like anything special. He's, like kind of like in a stand-in his sense for, Robert's son, in a way. But yeah. So Miles is at his house painting. This happens. York and his people arrive basically at Robert's house to kill him. And they, get in. And I did think this was a nice little, like, kind of hide scene. He calls Robert, because he's on the phone with Robert already, and then he sees the people come. Robert tells him to go hide in his bookcase actually is basically like a hidden door. And you see like a military uniform. I could be wrong, but I think it's Navy. Could be fucking wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am wrong. But I'll just say military uniform just to keep it safe. So you kind of get a hint, like a little bit, like, okay, this guy definitely has like military training, but you don't need you don't get a whole thing. So Robert tells him he got basically Miles has to hide in there while York and his people look through. And York, probably also because he basically kind of has like the same kind of training that Robert does, so he knows that that's not just a bookcase. It's probably like a secret door. So he tries to find it, but then he gets a call from Miles. Miles gets not Miles gets a call from Robert and tells him where to look. And Robert says his old house, and Robert and York's like, I know where he's at. And everything seems normal. Then Miles gets out, which I was even thinking this in my head. I'm like, I probably would have just stayed in there the whole time. I'm like, they didn't leave. And of course they didn't. They kidnap him and they confront Miles, Robert, at his old house. Basically, it's in this part of the city that's, I think, I don't know. I don't remember the state, but it was, I'll just say it's hurricane because it was clearly like a hurricane going on. They kill a cop and they confront Robert in this basically abandoned neighborhood and just fucking hurricane going. Oh man, that's what made this action scene good. I liked it being in a hurricane. You got like all this rain, this heavy rain. The way the cinematography of the scene in general was great. Robert kills one of them with a harpoon. Like, dude, he's harpooned to the wall. You see like the blood dripping from the blade. It's fucking great. Slices another dude up and then blows another guy up. Basically kills all of Robert York's people. York then tries to convince Robert to come out by saying, I have Miles in a car, and basically starts shooting at the car and basically says, I can shoot at Miles because he's in the trunk. And York shoots like the tire basically because York's about to shoot the trunk, so Robert shoots the tire, which obviously makes the air go down, so it goes down. Then York and Robert have a fight. I do feel like I think maybe the only, if I had one other criticism, this final act could have been a little longer, like maybe another 10 minutes. I do feel like it was a bit rushed. Like, I maybe wanted to savor a little bit of Robert taking some of those guys out, because he took them out pretty quick, and then York threatens to kill the kid, and then Robert inflates the car, and then climbs the tower, and fights York and kills him. Fight goes pretty quick. Pretty brutal. It was a decent little fight, but I do just feel like it was a little rushed. Maybe like I said, another 10 minutes maybe. But yeah, Robert ends up killing York. Gets home. Saves Miles. Gets back. Pays off that old family. He was like, they're like a Holocaust survivor. He pays them off. You see Robert looking at the sea basically. Almost like, as much as like I'm definitely hyped for 3, they could have kind of ended it here. It kind of has like a little bit of an ending. Like, you could have ended it here, but I'm definitely kind of happy they didn't. I'm definitely just from the what I've seen of the trailer, 3 looks amazing, and I'm hearing 3's really good. So so far 2, like I said, it's all right. It's good. I just don't think it's as strong as the first one, but it's still a decent movie. I like the action. I like the fight being in a hurricane. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. It's for like an interesting kind of setting for a final fight. York wasn't a good villain. Honestly, some of the like the one dude who made the guy shoot himself, he would have been a better villain, to be honest. Like, I just didn't buy Pedro as the main head. I'm like, he felt like a stooge. So, and I do, like I said, the final fight was a little rushed, but everything else, I like the Miles is a decent character. The action is awesome. Like, this one is maybe not as like violent as the first. The first one was like just very viscerally violent, but I did like the action in this one. Especially in the final fight. Probably my favorite fight scene though is when he beats up those dude bros in their apartment. Like, he broke fingers. He fucking slammed a dude. Like, yeah, I like that scene. And Denzel's performance in that scene when he was talking to Miles was amazing. That was like Oscar acting. when the Oscars actually were worth the shit. But yeah, like he would put his all into that. Like, in this isn't just like another action movie. Like Denzel puts his all into everything. It doesn't matter what the movie is. He puts his all into everything. Even like something like Book of Eli, which is a really good movie. But even like he just in everything, even in shit that's not like quote unquote Oscar bait, right? He like tries in every movie he does, and that's what makes him such a one of the best actors of I'd probably say of a generation in general, really. Like he has, in my opinion, he's one of those actors. I don't think he's ever had a bad movie, like at all, like or bad performance, or the movies are all good and just varying good quality. Like, yeah, this one isn't as strong as the first. I know I'm saying that a lot, but yeah, it's not as good as the first one. But I think acting wise, this might be better. I actually really liked his performance in that scene with Miles. It was like, holy shit. I was like, dude, they let Denzel like show himself in this movie. But what made the first one better, I think, was just the simpler plot. I think this one, the whole conspiracy thing was a bit much, especially for a second film. Maybe they should have did like another gang, maybe just a singular bad guy this time. Maybe the other problem is maybe if another actor played York, maybe it would have worked better. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like Pedro, but I think it's just maybe another actor. I just didn't buy him as like your main bad guy of the movie. Like, honestly, maybe I would have swapped, have him be the dude from earlier, like one of the hitmen from earlier, and have that guy be York. I think he would have been a better York. He felt like the main. I was thinking originally he was gonna be the main villain. I didn't remember Pedro being in this movie, to be honest. So, but yeah, overall, 7.5 out of 10. It's still a really good movie. I'll give it an 8. I still think there's more good than bad. Denzel put on a strong performance. I thought his chemistry with Miles was pretty good. Miles is an okay character and like nothing amazing, but he's fine. I think like the first one had better side characters too. But I think this one was still pretty good. So I can't wait for 3. I'm definitely really hyped. I don't know when I'm seeing. I should be seeing it this weekend. I just don't know what day yet. But can't wait. Tomorrow, Punisher, 2004. I cannot wait to watch that one again either. It's like I remember seeing that in theaters, and Punisher is just one of my favorite characters, and so I can't wait to talk about him. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna cheers, and then I'm gonna peace out. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.